Butter or margarine? What do you like better? Personally, I don't mind either, but if we're going to use butter, it has to be at room temperature. If you keep your butter in the fridge, then it won't spread on your bread. But everyone knows that. Today's talk is what is holding you in the so-called matrix. This is inspired by, I started watching a video by Aaron Dowdy on the subject, and my friend Quimby always says, before you listen to someone's video too much, let's do one of our own, because we don't want to be influenced by Aaron's talk until we've made our talk first. So, what keeps us locked into the so-called matrix? The matrix they're talking about is the matrix-like reality that they show in the Matrix movies. Perhaps the original Matrix movie is the one. If you've never seen them, that's the one to watch, the beginning one. And, you know, it's supposed to be a documentary of this world. Now, what happens in this world is nothing to do with anything but fixed and dilated pupils. In other words, people who walk around and they don't look below the surface to see what they're working in. Agent Smith is someone you might run into, someone who interrupts you for no good reason at all other than the fact that the Matrix has sent them to interrupt you and what you're doing. So that's something that might happen to keep you plugged in. Agent Smith. So it doesn't have to be like, you know, some man in black kind of thing. Agent Smith could be your neighbor. Watch out. Okay, so my continuing story about what is keeping you plugged into the Matrix. Well, I was saying Agent Smith. Agent Smith is someone who comes and, you know, you're meditating or you're doing your art. Your Agent Smith comes in and interrupts you and ruins everything for you. So, what are they designed to do? Primarily to annoy you to the point of anger. You're supposed to get angry and you're supposed to tell Agent Smith, you know, F off. And if you can do that without getting too angry, then you've been successful. But if you end up losing it, it doesn't work on Agent Smiths because they're not conscious. They don't know what they're doing. They're being run by the programming of the Matrix. And quite often the program they use is, you're acting weird. So they go into their judgmental mode and they tell you to stop. You want to not stop when Agent Smith tells you to stop doing your art. Basically, Agent Smith is jealous of you because they have not unplugged from the Matrix, and all they can do is look around at people who are being free of the Matrix, being creative, and not doing conventional things. And what they do is they point their finger at you and they say, you know, cut your hair and get a real job pumping gas at or something. So anyways, you will have Agent Smiths in your life, and the best thing to do with them, well, it's very difficult. They're very difficult people, and they're so wholly caught up in the Matrix that there's nothing you can do for them. Trying to unplug them from the Matrix is impossible because they have no curiosity, because the Matrix has remove curiosity from them. Basically, they live humdrum lives, and they want you to be humdrum like them too. So that is Agent Smith. What else keeps you plugged into the Matrix? Well, I'm not getting anything for you. So, I mean, I was thinking about the high cost of living. That is something that seems to be unavoidable. Having to pay the rent, having to pay ridiculous prices for gasoline, having to pay ridiculous prices for old used cars. It's just the civilization that we live in, if you can call it that, is basically designed for, well, not for average people. It's designed for, everyone knows it's the 1% Illuminati. And, you know, everyone just emulates that. And it's all about getting as much money as they possibly can. And that is their world. So, I mean, if you have to take a job and, you know, you're being one of these salespeople, well, know that you are actually part of the Matrix. And unplugging from your job, I mean, those jobs are the same thing. I mean, you might do for 50 years, you might be a car salesperson. And what did you learn in your lifetime? I don't know, maybe. I mean, generally speaking, car salespeople, they take off 2 weeks a year. Maybe they go to the Caribbean for one, and they paint their house for another one. But they don't do anything for their life. There's no living. They are purely salespeople, and they sell their cars, and they sit on their ass inside the sales floor, waiting for the next client to come along. There is not living in that kind of a world, and that is a Matrix job. God knows I've done a lot of Matrix jobs. Do the same thing day after day, time after time. How do you get away from Matrix jobs when the world is so expensive to live in? I guess there's no hard and fast rule, but if you've had enough of your Matrix job, leave. I mean, there's plenty of Matrix jobs you can go to. None of them are terribly fulfilling, and usually when you find trying to figure out, you know, well, is it paying my bills? Well, usually what you find is for the amount of effort you make, you're underpaid. You're always underpaid. You never seem to be able to get ahead, and that's why you see so many videos, advertising videos that say, oh, if you only used my system, you could be the boss, the owner, and everyone else would work for you. In the real world, does it work? Well, you can float this kind of a world if you've got that kind of a way about you and you're given the right opportunities. I mean, some people are going to go and they've got family money, friends money, their own saved up money. Grandma gave you some money. That's quite often the thing. You get inherit money from your grandparents. And maybe you go to the local bank manager and you go and you say, I need to buy this building because I'm going to have a shop or something. And the thing is that these buildings are so far out of reach, they're so expensive, that if you get these, then as a business owner, a new business owner, if you're not making your numbers about how much stuff you need to sell, then you've invested yourself into a building that's a huge money drain. And if you can't make the payments, then the bank's going to come along and take your keys, and you're going to be out a lot of your invested money. And that's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is it works out for you and you've got a steady little business. But it's basically buying yourself a matrix job, unless you're going to hire 16-year-olds to, man your store. Would you trust 16-year-olds with your lifeblood, with your business? Some people do. I think it's foolishness, because everyone knows that teenagers are more interested in playing than they are in making you money. So maybe you'd want to hire retired people to come and work in your store. There's no easy answer. Anyways, I'm getting long-winded. I'm going to quit there. What is the Earth Coincidence Control Office? I think it's actually someplace where you get sent to, and then you find out that there's etc. Anyway, if you're going out and about and you see people wearing ECCO or maybe ECKO, that is Earth Coincidence Control Office, and it is basically a confirmation that there is some kind of coincidences going on for you, and you should pay attention. What is the point of coincidences? Well, it's supposed to get you woken up to the fact that you're basically told that the world is totally random and people are all running around on their random schedules. And there is no organization of human beings in what they do. They all are running on their own brain power, and their brain power says, I got to go to the gas station. I got to go to church. I got to go to pick up the kids at the school. I got to go to the graveyard to plant new flowers on the dead people's graves. I gotta go and do this or that. So people just get these ideas in their heads and they go, and there's no relevance in my choice to go to Walmart right now and your choice to go to Walmart right now. So if we meet, it's considered, two random things, because it was just a random idea that I would go, and the timing was that I would go, 2 in the afternoon. And the same thing happened to you, and lo and behold, we run into each other on aisle 7. Now, you would say, well, wasn't that fun that we found each other? But no pre-planning was involved by some other beings who decided, well, we need these two people to meet, and we're going to get them to meet in Walmart in aisle 7 at 2:30. So we're not going to go and put the idea in their head at 1:45 that, we should be getting ready to go because we're going to have to drive to Walmart, and we're going to arrive there at 20 after and park the car and go inside and then end up at aisle 7 at 2:30. But yeah, that's what the Earth Coincidence Control Office does. They're the ones that put these ideas in your head. And what is the big plan for Earth Coincidence Control Office? Well, think of them as Adjustment Bureau people. If you haven't seen the movie The Adjustment Bureau with Matt Damon, it's basically beings that are involved in what is the higher purpose of Earth Coincidence Control Office? Organizing people, organizing them for whatever cause it is that they're working on for the day. They're organizing them. And perhaps they've got longer term plans. If you see the Adjustment Bureau, they walk around with iPads, the Adjustment Bureau people, and on their iPads it shows timelines. And timelines are of the people they're concerned with, and it shows who they might meet, and so they're playing around with timelines and who they want you to meet, not who you might want to meet. So the idea is the universe has got its ideas of what it wants done and what it wants you for, and your ego mind has got ideas of what you think you want based upon the advertising that you see and movies you've seen and stories that your friends have told about their experiences. So who do you want to listen to? Your ego or the Adjustment Bureau people? Well, I don't know if you have a choice, because you don't really know. Even the things that were given to you for your ego choices were given to you by advertising industry. So it's not like these things were really organic for you. These were the things given to you by people who want to sell you stuff. So the idea is perhaps the Earth Coincidence Control Office people are trying to change the whole society. I don't know. I haven't talked recently to Earth Coincidence Control Office to try and figure out what exactly are you trying to do with coincidences. And that is the end of this segment. Acting lessons for real life. Part, I don't know, maybe 15. Okay, so in real life, if you're going to be using your acting techniques, you have to be apprised of what it is your character is doing in the story. Let's assume that you're the protagonist of the story, so you're basically the hero, the one that most of the screen time is going to. Now, what is it that you want your character to do in real life? I mean, it's basically your avatar body that's here on planet Earth. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to spend all its time in an office setting as a office secretary fetching coffee and answering phones? Or do you want to be sitting on a beach in Thailand? Do you want to climb Mount Everest? Do you want to be in a lab where you're creating new inventions? Do you want to be a pilot, a truck driver? Do you want to sing? Do you want to write books? Anyway, that's what you have to have when you're designing the story for your avatar. And what else? Well, then you have to have a second and a third character. The second character is like the friend or someone who comes into the life of the protagonist and interacts with the protagonist, and somehow the interaction changes them, and maybe they bring new information, or somehow, some way they change what was going on with the protagonist in the beginning. And then the last one that you need is the obstacle person, the one who throws all the obstacles in your path of getting to where you've decided to send your avatar. So maybe the anti-hero is the person. So you got 3 characters in your basic play, and that's where you start. Where does it all finish? Well, when you get to the end of your story, then it's time for you to set your protagonist up with a new thing, a new story. And you might keep the best friend kind of person around, or a new best friend comes in, and then you might have the old anti-hero, or maybe you killed them off in the last story and you need a new person to give you some obstacles. There ain't nothing to it, because there's already so many obstacle courses on planet Earth. You don't really need to invent them. It's mostly just because everything that you want to do takes some doing, and usually takes a lot of money. Anyway, pick a story and start filling in the blanks and see where it takes you. Okay, so there's nothing more to be said about less is more, because when you get to the point where you've given away all your stuff and you're very easy to move, once you get to where you move to, it's time to start reacquiring some stuff, because you just generally need stuff. You need clothes and hats. I always have hats, sunglasses, suntan lotion. Maybe you need 2 pairs of shoes in case one was wet. You need something else. You need a couple pairs of socks, a couple pairs of underwear anyway. And maybe you like to have some books or things for you to glance at. So that's generally what happens when you get set up in a new place, is that you have to have a little bit of stuff. Unless you're going to be hitchhiking around the world, in which case you still have to have basic stuff, or you could just walk around and hope that the universe provides you with a pair of pants when it gets cold. So, more or less, you tend to sometimes hold on to things like sporting goods because they're seasonal, and rollerblades are great in the summer, but in the wintertime, they won't cut it. And if you do live in a place that's got winter, you gotta have a warm parka for the winter, or you will be incredibly uncomfortable with the cold. And by the same token, in the summertime, your parka is not going to serve you unless you live someplace where I do, where in the middle of July at nighttime I put on my parka because it gets so bloody cold. Why do I live here? I often ask myself that, and I don't have a good answer. I just don't know. I think I've got a block. This is what you call a spiritual block. It's basically the feeling that the grass isn't greener on the other side, So I'm not going to go and look anyway. Because I have looked over a lot of different places, and in my databases of places I've been to, I haven't found home. Perhaps I should keep looking, but I have to convince all of me that that's a good idea, and I've been a bit of a stick in the mud for the past little while. So anyways, I think I have identified a block, and it's, well, I haven't really given myself a good shove towards doing something about it, which is complacency, which is like a second block. When you're complacent and you're also kind of in stasis, in other words, you're just not in the mood to move a lot. I have to ponder and meditate on these things.